US right now. And we are going to be so late, I might miss my connection. Oh well. We'll see what happens. So, how was my Emirates EK201 flight? Well, our flight left actually on time. I pay attention to this flight all the time and I monitor it just to see like the aircraft, just to see like when I say aircraft, how old the airplane was, because typically EK201 got the older airplanes. So I was lucky there today that we had a plane that was only 6 years old, which really wasn't that old. For Emirates, it's not old. And that part was good. And then we actually departed early today. Typically the flight departs at 9 o'clock. It's scheduled to depart at 8:30. And it ended up departing today at 8:45, which is great. It's for Emirates, that's on time, that's good. Well, we departed at 8:47, we started taxiing, and eventually I noticed we crossed a runway, and then we get this call from the captain who said, we have a sick passenger, we are gonna offboard them. And we had to offboard the passenger, take off their bags, put the bags back on, and then before we knew it, we missed our slot, so they had to file a new plan for it. While they were doing that, time kept on going by. We eventually pushed back later than scheduled, and then we go all the way down to the furthest opposite end of the runway. Then we have to wait for planes to take off, then 3 or 4 of them to land, and then we eventually go off 3 hours later than we should have. Now, I feel like I'm complaining a lot, but I'm very picky about airlines because I love, even the Boeing, I love flying, I love aviation, and this is something that I felt was unacceptable because I know I had another booking with another airline. I had a 4-hour connection from JFK airport. If the flight came in on time, it would have been 2:30. I had a flight leaving LaGuardia at 6:30. It's a 4-hour difference. And it is kind of tight because you switch airports, but I was unable to make that flight because of this flight being delayed. And I know a lot of people had several connections that they missed from this. And so there needs to be a way of compensation, or I don't know. There was no sorries, there was no thing, there was no food, beverages, there was no anything given out during that delay. Nothing. Crew didn't say, the captains of course said, that they're sorry about, but the crew never really once said, we're sorry for your connections, we're sorry for being delayed, any of that. And that part was unacceptable. But going into the actual flight, the plane was pretty well kept, it was pretty well clean, the crew were nice, I had a really good seatmate that we talked about in New York City a lot. It was a good flight other than that, but for me, when I look at flying, time is very important. An on-time arrival, an on-time departure, all that matters. And in the aviation industry, when you have connections, it's super important.
All right, so I'm here in a different location. I'm back here in my normal room in Tennessee because my GoPro died in my hotel room. And there's a couple things that I wanted to talk about before I ended this flight review. I don't want it to be too long, but I wanted to talk about a few things that I didn't like with my Emirates flight, because I think there are a couple things that I didn't get to because it died. The first thing that I didn't really get to that I wanted to get into was the Wi-Fi. Now on this Emirates flight, my Wi-Fi did not work compared to my previous flights. So with Emirates, they give you like a free hour of using WhatsApp and the Wi-Fi, and it works really well. But on this flight back, I did not have the opportunity to really use the Wi-Fi. Like I signed in and everything like I would on the previous flight, and it just didn't work. So Emirates, if you could fix that, that'd be nice. Another thing that I didn't like was the big delay from the previous, like what I talked about earlier, that delay. It really messed a lot of things up, and I still, several months later, have not received any compensation from Emirates at all. Now I tweeted them, and then they replied to me and said, hey, DM us your details and everything. And guess what? Nothing back or anything. I kind of think Emirates just did it for the show. So like I tweeted them and they tried to make it seem like, oh yeah, we've solved this issue, even though they haven't, which was a horrible experience with customer service, which left me unsatisfied because I feel I'm a pretty loyal Emirates flyer. They're one of the most loyal airlines I fly with because I fly to Dubai fairly often, once a year, and left me kind of unsatisfied. Enough with the negatives. Let's get into the positives on what I did like with this Emirates flight. Now, with this Emirates flight, I have to say the food was so much better from my previous flight to Dubai. The catering is from Dubai instead of New York. Makes it so much better. I actually, in economy class, I finished most of my breakfast, and I couldn't even remember the last time I did that in an economy class where I finished most of my breakfast. It was a really good meal. So Emirates, you did a really good job with the food, and I felt like the food has been kind of lacking because whenever I first flew Emirates a couple of years ago, the food was really, really good. And as time's gone on, I felt the food is becoming more cheaper and not as good as what it used to be. But with this flight, the food was excellent, so good job, Emirates. Now, another thing that I did different in this video is I got row 50K. Now, row 50K is the last row in the first cabin in the economy class. And I've seen that a lot of people were getting a lot of extra space because it's the last row. The only thing that's kind of bad about it is it's towards the back, but I figured out that there's a lot more leg space and a lot more leg room. So if you're flying the A380, if you want a really comfortable economy class seat on a long haul, row 50K is excellent compared to my first flight, which was row 45, which is kind of in the middle. I found that being at the last gives you a lot more space and a lot more room, and it's a lot more comfortable. So that basically sums up my Emirates flight experience with them. But there's a couple things that I want to get into that are non-related to my Emirates flight and kind of where have I been. So here lately, I've been posting videos on TikTok about aviation, travel, business. And if you're on my YouTube channel, you possibly came here from my TikTok. But TikTok has been getting a lot of my efforts and energy, and I have currently now 20,000 followers, which is insane compared to here on YouTube, which the growth is so slow. So that's kind of where I've been focusing most of my efforts on, and not really focusing too much on YouTube because I feel YouTube's a lot harder to grow on right now. But yeah, if you like these videos, you definitely need to go check out my TikTok where I talk about how to get the best deals when traveling and flying, so check that out. I know my next couple videos will be a New York City vlog that I have. It won't be too long, but I have some footage of whenever I was stuck in New York City basically for a night from this Emirates flight since I had to rebook my flights. But yeah, so be on the lookout for that New York City vlog because I have that stored up in the footage and I'm gonna try and release that soon. I just wanna say thank you for watching this video. Like I said, I have a couple more videos coming up and I think I might make a video to update everything. Some things in my room look a little different. You see this hoodie right here. It's part of a brand deal I made. I wanna say thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video.